Hello, my lovely friends. My name is Ava, and here are my favorite books from 2024. It is that time. We are going to be talking about my favorites from the year. There are 15 books on this list, so let's dive right on in. I'm not going to be talking about the books in a specific order. I'm honestly just going to be going randomly. I have a really hard time picking like favorites of all time, so there was no way I could like rank these in any way or pick an all-time favorite of the year because that can't be me. I can't do that. That is too much work. So the first one that I have is Lights Out by Nesta Allen. This one has taken the book internet by storm the past couple months, and I feel like it's for a great reason. This is one of my favorite audiobooks ever. Like, I love it. If you have not listened to the audiobook of this, what are you doing with your life? Our heroine is like in love with masked men. Like, she is so hot over them. Same girl, same. So I understand. I feel her. And so there's a specific masked man TikToker that is just like getting her all hot and bothered or whatever. And she texts this guy she used to like be hookup buddies with and is like, hey, how do you feel about possibly doing this? And sends him the video of this masked man doing thirst trap videos. And the guy shows his roommate is like, hey, can you believe like this girl wants me to do this with her? And that's the masked man guy. No one knows that he makes these thirst trap masked man videos, but he finds this girl very attractive and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna get her to like fall for me essentially. And so he like stalks her, goes into her room, films thirst traps in her room, and then she's starting to like connect the dots, and then he starts stalking her. And I really love this one. It was such a grand old read. I was laughing, I was scared at some points. Like, this is a great book. If you have not picked it up yet, you need to. The audiobook is fantastic. It is duet narration, which I am always obsessed with those. Another one that I read recently is Loving Mr. Daniels by Britney Cherry. Of course, a Britney Cherry book has to be on this list. I freaking love her and her books so much. This is an oldie by Britney. I know they recently redid this cover. This is not what the cover used to be, but it came out originally in 2014. And I've had the audiobook sitting in my Audible for so long. I think the audiobook is only exclusive to Audible. So if you want to pick it up, that's where you get it. But the audiobook was really great as well. So this one, fairly simple, as a student-teacher forbidden romance. These two characters actually meet before they know their predicament that they're in. The heroine moves to this town to live with her dad. Her dad has a new wife and two kids like the heroine's own age. They're all seniors in high school. However, the heroine is a year older. She's 19 because she did get held back a year when she was a kid due to some medical problems, but she's moving in with her dad. Her twin sister recently passed away, I believe from cancer, so trigger warning from that, and her mom's going through a lot, so she's gonna go stay with her dad for a while. These two actually meet the day that she gets off, I think, a train to this town. He's like, hey, if you're ever at this bar on Friday night, you should come and see me because my band and I perform. She's like, ooh, okay. And they kind of have this amazing, wonderful night together, this spark. And then she walks in to class on Monday for her brand new school. And guess who is her English teacher? But the guy she has this like amazing spark with. So that's definitely forbidden. But I absolutely love this one. Britney just pulls at your emotional heartstrings so hard, and there's just so much going on in this book and it weaves together so beautifully. Next, I'm going to talk about like two at once because the books kind of mesh in my brain for me. I read them back to back. So the first one is The Prince of Prohibition, and then book number 2 is The Veil of Violence. So these two kind of, mesh together for me because I did read them back to back. There are currently only 2 books out in this series. I'm waiting for number 3 to come out next year. But I will say, if you love A Court of Mist and Fury, if you want something to give you the same vibes, to give you Resand vibes, look no further. Look no further. Please pick these up. There are audiobooks for both of these. They're really good. Like, this one has twists and turns I did not expect, and this world, the series is so unique to me. I freaking love it. So this book does start out, I will say, a little slow. So please be aware of that. Like, go in, like the first couple chapters are kind of slow. It's about the heroine growing up in this very small town where her and her family are outcasts. The story really starts to pick up, I think, when she moves to New York. And this takes place in the 1920s, by the way. So she ends up moving to New York with her brother. It's only her and her brother. And her brother got a new job in New York, so she's gonna go with him to New York. And there she bumps into this man. His name is Jack, and he kind of rules New York's the underground world of New York City, and supplies alcohol to all the businesses illegally, right? Because prohibition is in the works. And little does she know that Jack and his friends and his family have a little magical aspect to them. And that's all I will say. These books are everything. They're so good. I kind of want to reread them right now, but I'm gonna hold myself off and I will do it closer to book 3's release, The Empress of Everything. Like, if you love fantasy books, you gotta read it. I didn't know if I'd be into a 1920s fantasy romance. Like, I don't know why I doubted it. This was so good. I got this recommendation from B from Mama Needs to Read Romance. She came in clutch with these because I was obsessed with them. I still am obsessed with them. I would not stop listening to these. Like, normally when I'm listening to audiobooks, like, I'll pause for a little bit, put on some music or a TV show, or when I'm sitting down to eat, I'll put on like a show in the background. Like, no. Like, I was brushing my teeth, doing everything while listening to these books. I would not stop. Like, I was obsessed. Another emotional one is A 5-Minute Life by Emma Scott. I got this special edition back when I met her at Book Bonanza, like 2 years ago, I want to say. I think it was 2 years ago. But isn't this absolutely stunning? Like, it is gorgeous. So this mainly follows our hero of the story. He is going through a lot currently emotionally. He ends up moving to this town in the middle of nowhere and gets a job at a sanitarium as kind of like the janitor, one of the janitors. And if you don't know, like, a sanitarium is a home where people who are mentally ill and are unable to take care of themselves live and get treatment at. The hero himself doesn't talk much. I believe he has a stutter, and so he just chooses to not speak because he feels very self-conscious about it. He does speak every now and then, but most of the time he doesn't speak. I think on his first day there, he's in the lobby for the sanitarium and he sees this beautiful woman admiring a painting hanging up in the lobby, and they kind of strike up this amazing conversation. They really connect in this conversation. That it's just one of those people you have one conversation with and you realize, man, there's something here. One of the nurses is like, hey, you found one of our patients. Like, what is she doing over here? It's like, oh no, she's a patient. And so that is our heroine of this story, and she was in a car accident with her family. Her parents died. She is the only survivor of the car crash. However, she now has a brain injury to where she has amnesia, and she only remembers things for 5 minutes, and then her memory resets itself to what she was doing or whatever time period it was before. Sorry, Finn's barking. Before the car accident happened. So the hero is definitely going to be distancing himself. He's like, I cannot be having feelings for a patient here. That is very inappropriate. I'm not doing that. But the more he gets to know her, the more he falls for her as a person and might realize, I think there is a way to help her. I think she is in there trying to communicate. Even though the doctors have said, like, oh, she's a lost cause, like, there's no curing her, whatever. He thinks there is more. I really love this one. It's so unique. There's nothing really like this book, and it definitely pulled at my heartstrings. These emotional ones really get me. I wanted to say that I'm also going to be coming out with, again, like I did last year, my favorite alien/monster romances of the year video. If that's not already up, that'll be coming up very shortly for y'all. But I do want to say that this book and a few other ones that are going to be on this list but are also on my other list, they're still on this list because they're fantastic books and they're still my favorites of the year, despite them being monster and alien romances. Like, they're so good because there's nothing wrong with those genres. Nothing at all. Nothing to be ashamed of. I freaking love these books. So Ruling Sixth Hand by Victoria Abilene is probably my favorite. That one is so stinking good. It's the latest book out in her Clickanian series. These are alien romances that take place on a planet called Clickania. There you go. It's a tongue twister for me, where human women have been illegally abducted from Earth and they kind of seek refuge on this planet with other people who live on there. And there are different factions and groups of people and areas of land on this planet, and we've never been to the area that this book takes place in. It's probably my favorite. I do think that alien romances are kind of cool with, like, the technological advancements that alien creatures have or other worlds have or whatever, but there is something about the primal, like, no tech alien romances that are just superior to me. So this play takes place in an area of land where there's no technology whatsoever, because the people who live in this land ride, I think they're on an island on a very tall mountain, like that's where their kingdom, their land is. They ride these creatures kind of like dragons, but they're the alien equivalent. I don't really know what they look like because they're aliens, but they ride these dragons, and the frequency that technology gives off like scrambles their brain, and so they can't have any tech like anywhere in the city. So there's no technology, nothing like that. So I loved that aspect of this book, and obviously like the alien dragon riding. The heroine of the story is a human woman, and she is set to be in arranged marriage with Sikthand, who is the king of this land. He is a very attractive, tattooed, broody king who has a tail. He has tattoos all over him. Oh my gosh. They have rooms kind of like next to each other, and he has a chair that just sits in front of the window that's in his room. However, the window doesn't view outside. The window views into her room, but she thinks it's a mirror. It's like one of those two-way mirror things. So he just sits at the window and watches her all day long. She has no idea. So I freaking love this man so much. He's so hot. Like, I want it. One of my favorite contemporary romances of the year is The Friendship Study by Ruby Barrett. I think I've shouted loud and proud about this book many times throughout this year. I loved it. I love friends to lovers romances, and I feel like this is the epitome of one. It gave like amazing messages as well. So this book starts out with our two main characters being set up on a blind date by a mutual friend. The date doesn't really go that well. Both of them aren't honestly really ready to date, but they're like, you know what? I'm never gonna see this person again. Doesn't matter if it was a bad date. I'll never see him again. Little do they know that actually they will. They see each other again at this study that the local university is putting on. They're doing a friendship study to study adults making adult friendships, which is so hard. So there's a really discussion on how to make friends as an adult and how difficult it is. And so I so related to that as someone who has very, 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 very few friends. Oh, I was like crying reading this. I related to it so hard. But the more these two get to know each other on that friendship level, the more they fall for each other. So it is a beautiful friends to lovers romance. They don't really get off on the right foot because of that awkward bad date, but it's so good. There is bi representation, there's chronic pain representation in here. Like, it is a great book. Thank you, Ruby Barrett, for writing this one, because I needed it. I needed it this year. I was putting together this list and I forgot that this book came out this year. I forgot. But that is House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. I forgot this book came out this year. Like, I feel like this book came out so long ago, but no, it came out at the beginning of 2024. This is the third book in the Crescent City series, and I can't say anything else. But I'm one of those people that actually really loves the rest of the series as well as book number one. I feel like some people are like, I only like book number one, haven't really liked any of the other books. And yeah, this book I feel like was good. It's not as good as book number one. Book number one is so good. Like, it is like ultimately crafted. Book number one is so good. So I do feel like it is hard to keep that momentum and that standard for the rest of the series when book number one is so good. Like, it's really hard. Okay, it's hard. There is an aspect in here that I wish there was more of. If you've read the book, you know, but I feel like it was good either way. I selfishly wanted more, but I'm not gonna dock this book for not including that. But I overall really love this one. I gave it 5 stars, so it has to be on this list. This book is freaking huge. But yeah, I did love it. It was one of my favorites at the beginning of the year for sure. I have some monster romances to talk about. They are 2 books, a part of the same series. Didn't lump them together as one book though, because they are not continuous, if that makes sense. So it's not about the same couple. So the first book, I feel like it's gonna be no surprise to people. This has been my favorite book, like, throughout the whole freaking year. It's Whispers of the Deep by Emma Hamm. This is a merman romance. So in this world, it is dangerous to live above water. There's constant tsunamis and hurricanes, and like, you will die if you live above the surface. So humans have kind of adapted and made these underwater city dome things. They now live in pockets of air they've created in these underwater city domes, and they've lived there for now, like, I feel like generations. The Undines, which are the mermaids, I'm just gonna call them mermaids because they're mermaids to me, but in this world they're called Undines. They hate humans because they've obviously ruined their home. They have taken apart life and burned away their land under the water in certain areas, and they're sick of humans. So humans and Undines are like sworn enemies, okay? And this book starts out with our heroine, who is a human woman. She's kind of like one of the repair people in the city. She is fixing a crack in one of the rooms in the city, and the hero is swimming by and sees her and is like, a crack. Let me exploit that. And he literally breaks the glass and tries to kill her. Anyway, this book ends up him kidnapping her, taking her to an underwater cave where she can breathe, and kidnapping her and keeping her there and figuring out how to use her to take down her people and this city. It is so good. I freaking love this book. And so the next book that I would love to talk about is Song of the Abyss, which is book number 2, which is actually about the villain from book number 1, his romance with the daughter to kind of like the creator of one of the city domes that is very popular, and he is going to kidnap her and use her as kind of like bait for this man to kind of make him do whatever he asks, right? But little does he know that that woman doesn't want to be there anymore. Her dad is abusive. She is hard of hearing now because of something her dad did to her. So when she sees an Undyne in the pipes in her room, she's like, please take me. She's like, take me, please. I don't want to be here. Even if it's this scary looking large merman, she's still like, take me, please, take me away from here. And yeah, it's their romance. I love both of these so much. Book 3 did come out this year as well. However, I have not gotten to it, so I can't put it on this list. I know I need to. I'm kind of waiting until the audiobook comes out for number 3 because I did not get to listen to the first and second one because I read arcs of them. But I got off of all my ARC teams because I do not have the time anymore, sadly. So I did not get the ARC for book number 3, which is totally fine, but I want to listen to the audiobook. So I want to know when that comes out. Another all-time favorite I read this year, it is Forget Me Not by Julie Soto. This is a book I read for a prompt 1 month of reading a hyped book. I am really bad at reading hyped books. I don't like reading them because I have high expectations and I don't want to do that. So I don't really read hyped books. But you know what? This cover was calling to me. This book was calling to me. So I am so glad that I picked this up. The heroine of the story in present time snags the wedding of the season, okay? She's a wedding planner. The only stipulation that the couple has is that they really want this specific florist, who is our hero. He makes these beautiful, amazing flower installations and they want it in their wedding. The heroine's like, okay, no problem, we can do this, I can do this. Little do those people know that that is her ex. That's her ex. And so this book takes place in 2 different timelines. Present day is all in her point of view and the past chapters are on his point of view onto when they first met and fell in love, and it is beautiful. I freaking love this. I do need to read book number 2, which is not about this couple, but it is the next book that Julie Soto has written, so I need that one as well. I did actually really love Don't Want You Like a Best Friend by Emma R. Alban. This is a Sapphic Friends to Lovers historical, which is very rare to get a Sapphic historical, but you know what? I freaking loved it. So both of our heroines, their respective parents are single, and when they meet each other, one of them has been out in society for a few years and the other one is brand spanking new, her new season, like her first season ever. Anyway, they end up meeting this season and they end up finding out that their parents have history, okay? They're like giving each other like hateful but also longing glances across the ballroom and they're like, I think our parents know each other, and then they find out that their parents also have like romantic history and they're like, okay. They're gonna do like a parent trap. They're gonna try and get their parents together, but while they do this, they end up also falling in love with each other along the way. I loved this. This was so cute but also hot. I know a lot of complaints that I've seen out there for sapphic romances as like traditionally published ones are only like cute. They're not hot. This one's hot. Okay, if you want a hot one, pick this one up. I didn't know, like, before I read this book that this was an adult romance. I would have guessed by the cover that it's a young adult. No, this is adult romance, okay? Another historical is The Autumn Bride by Anne Gracie. I loved this one when I read it. This book starts out with our heroine saving her sister and 2 other women who have been kidnapped from their homes and forced into this brothel, like have been taken out of their beds, out of their homes, and forced to service men. So she saves her sister and these women, and the 4 of them decide to become sisters at that moment no matter what, and they're gonna be together, be there for each other, live together. They're gonna be there for each other. They are sisters now. They've made this plan that hopefully in a year they have saved up enough money to go move to, I think, Bath, to just live life and be happy. But that doesn't really go to plan. They don't really make a lot of money. They're kind of poor and they're living in this attic. Her sister is literally on her deathbed. Like, she is coughing, like she thinks her sister is going to die. She becomes desperate. The heroine becomes desperate and she hops the window into the next house over, steal something. She's not a thief. She does not steal, but she is absolutely desperate. She needs money to hire a doctor to save her sister's life. But when she jumps in that window, it's kind of barren. There's nothing in there except for a lonely old bed with a lonely old woman inside hacking her guts up. And apparently her servants have been abusing her, eating her gruel and not taking care of her at all. And she's a very sick old woman. And they've also been stealing from her. She's like, you're not gonna find any jewels in here. My servants have stolen everything. So she decides, you know what? I'm going to help take care of this old woman. Her sister recovers and the four of them decide to be, like, pretend to be this old woman's nieces, like all four of them. And they're gonna take care of this old lady and make sure that these servants are not abusing her anymore. The old lady's nephew catches wind of, like, apparently niece is going into and taking care of his aunt, and he's like, I don't have any cousins. Like, she doesn't have any nieces. What is going on? So he goes to the house to try and figure out what's going on, and he realizes, oh, this woman is lying. Anyway, it's about her falling in love with him. Like, it's so good. I freaking love it. I just got the audiobook for the next book in the series. I've been waiting a long time because I didn't have an audiobook service that had the rest of the series, but I just got Hoopla with my new library card from Austin, and I'm jonesing to read it. I am going to be picking it up right when January starts. Sadly, the last book in the Bergman Brothers series came out this year. The last book. So this was also like a nostalgic factor for me. I freaking love these books. I'm so sad that Chloe's done writing them. I'm kind of hoping one day there'll be a second gen because I feel like that needs to happen. That's just me. But I know it's not just me. I know other people want that as well. But this is the romance between Vigo and Tallulah. It's forced proximity. These two end up living in the apartment that is above the bookstore that Vigo is recently opening. He's opening a romance bookstore with a bakery attached as well, or like a little cafe. And Tallulah is going to help him run the bookshop because he doesn't have any employees right now. She's going to help him run the bookstore if he helps her with her writer's block with her second thriller novel. There's great representation here, type 1 diabetes representation. Like, I love this book so much. It's so good. And I just loved seeing like the wrap up at the end with all of the siblings, all the Bergman siblings. So this was bittersweet. I then have a paranormal romance. I have The Tyrant Alphas Rejected Mate by Kate C. Wells. I know a lot of people were like hyping this book up, and it is so good. It's worth the hype. This is about a bunch of wolf shifters. They live in this werewolf pack, and the heroine is a lowly servant in the pack. There's like a hierarchy, I guess, in the pack. Obviously you have Alpha, who is our hero. He is the highest. And anyway, she's serving the pack one day when she ends up sensing that the Alpha is her mate, and she in front of everyone is like, oh my gosh, you're my mate. Like, goes and tells him, and he's like, no, you're not. Like, I would be able to tell, like, you're not my mate. I can't feel anything. You're not my mate. Stop making things up. And she runs off, is completely rejected, and she asks the pack witch to remove the bond from her. So she breaks the bond only on her end though. And then after a little while, the hero realizes, wait a minute, I do think she's actually my mate. And he goes to find her only to find that she has severed their bond on her end. So he's going to grovel his butt off and figure out how to make this woman his. I love this one. Our heroine in here, she grew up like abused. She's faced a lot of ridicule because of that abuse, because she got injured one day, now walks with a limp. She has not shifted into her wolf yet. So if you like those like angsty Wattpad shifter stories, I feel like you'd love these. And the last book that I have to mention is a historical romance. This is Yours Until Dawn by Teresa Medeiros. If you want a Beauty and the Beast retelling, look no further. Our hero was recently blinded. He is not able to see, and our heroine has been hired to be his nurse, to be his caretaker. He's adamant that he does not need a nurse, he does not need a caretaker, but his staff and his family are like, no, you need someone to help take care of you. And it's simple, short, that's their romance, is this beast of a man falling for his nurse. He is very grumpy and broody. It's definitely Grumpy Sunshine. Like, you need to pick this one up if you haven't yet. If you love historicals and Beauty and the Beast, it is so good. Anyways, there you have it. Those were my favorite books from 2024. Let me know down below if you've read any of these or if you plan to. And if you don't feel like commenting anything else, you can leave me, what emoji should we do? Any heart emoji. No, any flower emoji. Your heart or flower, whatever you want to do. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what your favorites were from the year. I'd love to know. But anyways, I'll see y'all soon in my next one. Bye y'all.